Yo, thanks for joining me today in this talk in the garden. It's just like the perfect day today. Came outside and it was cool in the morning. Finally, like a chill, temperate day. It seems like no clouds in the sky. Nice and blue, sunny, but not too hot. So I was like, perfect up here. This is why I moved up here in the dang first place, is days like this. So this talk today is going to be about pattern disrupting, spell breaking, dispelling curses. You could say you kind of getting rid of your addictions, battling your desires, overcoming your ego, just overcoming yourself. A lot of different ways to put it. But in general, it's about change. It's about changing things that you want to change in your life, and for some reason you can't. You feel like you're stuck doing the same thing. So I want to kind of, give you my advice on what I do when I get stuck in a rut and I need to break a pattern that's been not serving me. A lot of these patterns that end up hurting you, they'll teach you things you could have never learned otherwise. So that's sort of the catch-22 about your desires and addictions here and your problems. You kind of have to go through them in order to learn the lesson. You can't just imagine things about it. You kind of have to experience it and do it. For me, the best way I have been breaking my patterns lately is really through the mind, and finally convincing myself of why I don't want to do that thing that I've been doing, or why it is actually hurting me and not helping me. It seems like a lot of times when I have something in my life that I'm not sure, if I should be doing it or not, you eventually get to a point where you're like, yeah, I shouldn't be doing this, but I like it so much. So there's this kind of battle, this struggle of like, I don't want to do it, but I want to do it. I just figure we all go through this kind of stuff. And sometimes you never break out of a pattern, That's, I know there's a lot of that goes on. And there's patterns in your life that you probably were meant to have and meant to keep carrying forward. So I'll give you an example. I remember when I was in my early 20s, I was smoking cigarettes. I went to college and smoking Marlboro 27s, thought I was really cool, smoking a different brand, And I remember I bought a carton. I was in college, I bought a carton, and I was like smoking in between classes. It became a habit, they enjoyed it. And then I realized I was smoking a little too much, and my, if you're like a crazy smoker, you end up getting like yellow stuff on your fingers. If you're smoking like way too much in a day, you'll start to notice like weird stuff like that. And I was like, whoa, this is getting out of hand if I'm starting to see a little yellow there because I smoked like 10 cigarettes today or something. But eventually I started to come up with a strategy because I was like, yeah, I got to get rid of these cigarettes. I've done the research. I know that there's harmful chemicals in them. So I started convincing my mind, of like, yeah, this is a bad thing I need to get rid of. And then I also thought, like, if I just don't go to the gas station and buy the cigarettes, like, if I just don't buy them and they're away from me, that's a great way to quit. Because that helps a lot. Just being able to hold back and not walk up to the counter and buy them. But I'll tell you what really convinced me to stop smoking cigarettes. I just thought they were gross. You start to, you might have somebody around you who's like, what's that smell? Gross. Like, and they smell the cigarette on you. And you don't really smell it, right? Because you're just smoking cigarettes, whatever. But people smell it. And if you're not smoking a cigarette, you'll smell other people, and I eventually sort of trained my mind to think of it as gross, but it's also because that's true. It is gross. Like, there's these nasty smells, and, people that smoke cigarettes in their houses, they get yellow ceilings from all the nastiness. So that was how I broke my pattern of cigarette smoking. I wasn't super addicted or nothing, but it wasn't easy to kick. But it all worked once I had set my mind straight. I had really put it in my mind that it's like, I don't care how it feels, it's just gross. It's just, I basically, now it's just thinking of it as like, that's nasty, that's gross, I don't want it. It's like I kind of convinced myself out of it. So I know that's worked for me the best, is when I can convince myself of the thing and how it's not serving me anymore. So you might have somebody who tries to cast a spell on you. I remember I basically had shingles a couple years ago. I started getting like a swelling in my forehead, my eye started to hurt, and I could barely open it. And I did a bunch of research. I do not go to doctors. I know doctors, they don't want you healthy, they don't want you dead. The whole medical system wants you right in the middle, sick your whole life, so they can prey on you. So I'll tell you, just stay so far away from these doctors. Like, I'd probably rather die than go to a doctor and be put on some suffering poison my rest of my life. But I remember when I had this shingles and I had diagnosed it myself, and I went to Walgreens and I was going to buy some cream, because, you just start seeing like, okay, you need to get some cream to kind of take care of it. Come to find out, the cream was just to take care of the pain. It really wasn't any healing in the cream, so I didn't use it, because the pain is like whatever. I'm just trying to heal my body, not put another chemical on it that doesn't heal it but makes me feel good. But I was at Walgreens and I was talking to a lady across the counter about how, I got shingles and I'm trying to figure it out myself and fix it. And she just told me, like, you need to go to a doctor because you could be blinded by this. So, to me, she cast a spell at me in that moment. She cast a spell of fear at me. She's in her white robe, because all these doctors are in their white magician robes, casting spells on everybody themselves. They are a living, walking curse, actually. They're bewitched. When I think of doctors, they're pretty stuck in a pattern, right? They're stuck in a spell, the way I see it. But this lady tried to cast a spell on me to make me afraid so I would go to a doctor. And I just thought it was the silliest thing. Because, I went through the shingles and it was painful. I had a couple days where I was just like laying in bed, getting through my shingles. And the big thing that helped was arnica. I put arnica rub all over my forehead. That really soothed the pain. This very painful thing that happens, and your eye gets all crazy, and like the vein in your eye is like pumping toxins out or something. It was nuts. I remember going through that, and I would stare up into the sun. That really helped, was putting my eye in the sunlight. That seemed to heal it quicker. I put golden seal. I went to some botanical garden and found golden seal growing, and I took a little bit and, kind of put it in a water bottle, shook it up a little, to get the juices, and put the golden seal in my eye. But I ended up being able to take care of it, fix it. But this lady at Walgreens was trying to tell me how I'm going to go blind if I don't trust the medical system. And what do you know? I'm fine. Just like every other thing these people have told me I shouldn't be doing. So a lot of times, people are going to cast these spells at you, and man, it seems like a lot of people get these spells cast, and then they're stuck with the spell. Like, they're not able to maneuver and realize they had a spell cast upon them. So they'll always go to the doctor when they get sick, because that's the spell that's in them. They don't realize that they can heal themselves, So if I were to tell you to break any pattern, it's get doctors out of your life. That's the huge... it's one of the biggest issues in the world right now. Is people not being able to take care of their health, their own health. So you could call these things spells, patterns, desires. It really all depends on how you're dealing with it. That's what you call it. If it's a spell, it means somebody else knowingly cast it upon you and is tricking you. Like there's love spells. People cast a love spell, get somebody to love something they shouldn't love. So many spells being cast by so many people. And not enough wizards to dispel all of the dark magic. So that's why I like to view these problems that we face as magical. And it's just people ain't using their magic because they've convinced themselves that nothing's magical. It's all physical. We got to cut things up and add them together, and get your mind just constantly spinning, and just making up new terms and things, and never really experiencing life or having fun with the things that you're trying to define all the time. To me, it's just being bewitched. When somebody just can't let go and be. They can't just say, I don't need to know that answer. I look at school like a big magic. I look at school like a giant spell casting facility, right? They're just casting spells into kids all day long. That's all that's going on. Is they have it's like going to Gryffindor or whatever in Harry Potter, except instead of teaching you magic, they're sucking the magic out of you. It's like the opposite of Harry Potter, Instead of teaching you that, hey, there's magic and you can do magical spells, it's casting a spell that you have no magic powers. A lot of people end up living hexed or bewitched their entire lives, sterile, believing what somebody else made up for them, that there's no magic, everything is material, my heart, my thoughts, they're all coming from my brain somehow. There's no invisible, hidden essence, the ether, you know. What we're breathing in right now, it's just a calculation that man has figured out. Right? Now, I want to make this point that you're here to fulfill your desires. So, something you might think is an addiction, it could be the desire you came to fulfill. That sounds pretty wild. But you just might be overdoing it. You know, you might not be in a good balance with your desire that you were bringing here. And so it's like, it's just like with everything, right? Moderation is key. So it might not be that the thing you're doing is bad for you. It's just that you're doing it too much. You're craving it too hard. You know, you're not letting it... you're going for the instant gratification of your desire because you want it so much, when you should distract yourself in between this desire. Instead of always focusing on this one desire, find other things and then come back to that desire, you know, when you're ready. So instead of having an addiction, you just have a desire that you fulfill every now and then. You know what I'm talking about? Just my method of dealing with things. A lot of it is just trying things out in my head. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Then there's always Osho. I like what he said about addictions, because he was talking about how to deal with your addictions, your desires, and, you know, if you want to quit smoking but you can't, he said just keep smoking. Smoke till you're done. You know, like I was talking about quitting cigarettes. Maybe you want to quit but you don't want to. Well, just smoke like a chimney. Just keep smoking until you're sick of it. That's another way to get rid of stuff. Sort of, you could say, like, master it. I have a thing in my life where I have a lot of different things I'll jump into every year. And I'll get to a point where I feel like I've mastered the new thing, and that I'm fine. It's like, okay, I don't need to do that anymore. I kind of discovered it, did it a bunch, enjoyed it. I don't think I'll get more enjoyment out of it. Let's move on to the next thing. So one way to get out of these addiction cycles, these patterns, these desires you don't want to keep, is to just go through it. Do it as much as you can to get sick of it, or just to master it, to be done with it. Instead of saying I'm done and backing through it, just push through it. You know, instead of stopping and turning around and I need to go away from that, and then you find yourself right back there. Oh, I got to go back. A lot of times you just got to push through instead of going the other way. It's like it's like dealing with stuff. You know, instead of running away. You know, that's kind of a good way to say what I was just talking about. Instead of running away from the problem, face it, go through it. There's something about it. Something about all these doors in front of you. You've got all these doors in your life, you know, that you could open and go through. And each door that you open and enter into the new room, then there's a whole new set of doors and possibilities. I'm kind of talking about like the doors of perception. The book by Aldous Huxley, Doors of Perception. That's the the band The Doors kind of got their name from that, but it's like this idea that you always have choices, and this choice leads to that one, but you got to open these doors and look inside. You got to realize there's all these multiple doors to open and to experience and go through. So something I've realized lately, you are your own antagonist. So I'm sure you've probably were taught, in English class, there's protagonists, there's antagonists. Like every movie, every book, you have a protagonist, like the hero, the guy who's trying to do the good thing and save everybody. And then you've got the antagonist, who he's the bad guy, tricking everybody, doing the dark things against the protagonist. They're kind of rivals. I think what I've discovered is we each have an antagonist built into us. There's something inside of us that is sort of pushing us, screwing with us almost. You could kind of call it your ego, when you let your ego, your character kind of take over. You let your monkey mind take over. It seems necessary for us to have these dualities within us, or else you really couldn't change. Almost. And it's probably just the more things I talk about, the crazier I sound. But I'm just trying to put words to what goes on inside of us, and you really can't even use words because people twist words and they want to call you crazy or something. I don't know. But it's like we're built for anything, any possibility. So it seems like we can become stagnant. So within ourselves, we have like the agitator. We have this thing inside of us that does, like the inner critic. You could also call this your inner critic. It's always like, hey man, you could have done better that time. Even though you did great, right? Whatever you were working on, it turned out good. There's this thing where like, hey, you could have done that other thing to make it a little better. And it's just like, sometimes that voice is like, you don't need it. Other times, the voice is valuable and it makes you question things. So a lot of this is about finding a balance with that voice. Could call it your shadow. You know, some people call it the shadow that they battle with. I'm kind of coming to terms with the idea that there's no battle, there's no strife. It's just, we've imagined all this stuff and made it all. This has always been a peaceful, loving, happy realm. And we've just let our imaginations run wild, create all these things. And we've misunderstood ourselves. We've misunderstood all of nature. All of nature is here to help and heal us, love us. We're here to love it. It's not a thing to be conquered. And in fact, when you try to conquer nature, you just conquer yourself and you lose what you are. Right. In closing, I want to talk about a pattern I'm trying to break. Hey man, the heck, not a nest. But so of course, you know, I'm on the internet all the time looking at the craziest stuff I could ever find, and I heard somebody mention that maybe the bugs, you know, all these insects, you know, because they fly around us and they bite us. The ticks climb on us and suck our blood. And I heard somebody saying that maybe all of these insects are actually cleaning up poisons. They're cleaning up toxins. And that idea really struck me. Like, whoa, I've never heard anybody say that. That maybe all of nature, every part of it, is beneficial for us. There is nothing bad about it. And maybe it's just what man has done with nature has turned it against us. When you see a bacteria or a virus that hurts people, it's probably because man has caused that to happen, and it's not a natural process of nature. And this is going to sound super insane, and I don't know, I'm out on a limb, experimenting with my body, with my mind here, and I had a tick bite about a week ago on my leg, and I woke up and I realized there was a tick on there, and that thing was like, it had already gotten big. You know, you've probably seen them big gray ticks on a dog, or a tick that's been on an animal sucking. Well, this was kind of skinnier, but it was there. And I thought, you know, I'm going to go with nature, because I know they're spraying heavy metals in the sky. I'm finding out there's lead in the water at all these schools I work at. I just know that I do my best to stay clean, but I am in a toxic environment. So maybe the tick is sucking out toxins. Maybe that's its purpose here. So I let it do its thing, you know, and then the next day I was like, you know, it's getting a little big. I didn't let it finish because I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it does hurt me, okay? I'm not going to claim to know everything. So I let it kind of do its thing for 8 hours or so, and then I got it off. And the next day, I mean, that area was like red and swollen and itchy. And there was this long, like, crystal thing coming out, but, you know, I forgot what they call those things. But anyway, it was red, it was inflamed, it was leaking something. It was like stuff was coming out. I don't know what it was. It was almost like the crusties in your eyes. It would just kind of oily. It was almost like oil would be there, and I could crust it and get it off. Because my theory about our bodies and what goes on is your body's always trying to flush out bad stuff. Viruses are imaginary. You don't grow a bunch of things in you that take over your body. That's stupid. But I'm a week in, and you know, it's basically no inflammation anymore. I just have some scabs from where the tick bit, you know. But I'd say it's a success, because I felt better as that tick was on me. I felt a little lighter. A couple other things I'm doing is these flies that I don't know what you call them, but they have red eyes around here, and they're a little bigger than a fly, a little like V-shaped, but they get on you and they bite you and they suck blood. And I've been letting them do their thing. I let them land on me, stick their needle in, suck the blood, and finish and fly away. Same with mosquitoes. I've been letting the mosquitoes suck my blood and then go. And it's really like only one of them will do it. Like, one of them will suck the blood and then they'll leave, and the rest will leave me alone. So I kind of feel like I'm onto something. That maybe what I heard on the internet about nature being totally beneficial was true. Because my tests, it's like I let the mosquito bite me, I let the fly bite me, I let the tick bite me. I feel like I always feel full of energy. I'm fine. If anything, I feel like they took out toxins or something. And if you really want to think about it, like these things are tiny. How are they going to kill you? If you just let the thing get on you, suck your blood for 5 minutes and fly away, it just makes no sense how that would kill you. It's crazy to me. And I'm trying to research online about this, and I don't know if many people do this. I heard of Ramana Maharshi, some, Indian guru, or yogi, he's like a big one. A lot of people know this Ramana Maharshi guy, and he like sat in a cave and he let the bugs eat him. That's the only other person I've really heard doing this stuff. And he was in samadhi and he was happy and he just sat there and let the bugs like sucking on him and stuff. But I don't know, I had to let you in on my latest experiment, and I want to break the pattern though of not trusting the divine and not trusting in nature. I want to break that pattern that man has implanted in me. And if you're on the same path I'm on, these things are going to become clearer and clearer to you. You knew this as a kid. I knew this as a kid. I knew there was something screwed up about people and the way society was. I just couldn't put my finger on it because I was so young, I didn't experience it all yet. But my heart knew the whole time. We should be having fun. We shouldn't be living this crazy heart to a flag, pledge your heart to a murder flag world. I was like, what? Everybody's pledging to a flag? No. Guess what? The men were wrong. The people that have lived before you are fucking idiots. They're doing stupid shit. They're going against their own nature. They're going against the divine nature of this place. And it's just pretty simple to realize man's the one screwing it up. Not nature. Not the animals. They're not the ones out to get us, right? So I just think that's a huge pattern to break for all of us. If we could all stop doubting nature, stop doubting the divine, and that we're here for a purpose and that it's loving and peaceful. We're not here to suffer. I'm not. But it seems like there's a lot of people into it, their suffering and their stupidness. But anyway, it's getting to be long probably. I hope this all makes sense to you. I hope you get out there and break your spells, break your patterns, learn how to be a magician, become one with nature, become one with the divine. Stop letting men separate you from what you really are. All right? Be yourself. So I hope you enjoy these talks. I love you. Enjoy.